Oh, thank you.
All right,
Just a minute.
and we're in business. So thank you for attending this meeting. This is an exciting development for me. Looking at the title slide, Towards Zero Waste, proposal to amend the Amherst General Law 3.3 to include curbside compostable materials pickup in basic hauler service. So slide 2. Zero Waste Amherst is a volunteer organization formed 3 years ago, committed to the goal of achieving zero waste in Amherst, or as close as we can. As one of its first priorities, ZWA examined whether our hauler system could be improved to significantly reduce trash in our waste stream, to be more transparent and cost residents less, among other advantages of the proposal. So here it is. We're requesting that bylaw amendment starting in January of 2024. The town shall either provide directly or through a contract with one or more waste haulers, curbside pickup of trash, recyclable, and compostable materials included in basic service and other waste reduction services with the goal of meeting the town's climate action, adaptation and resilience plan, and zero waste goals. Such services shall be provided by way of a pay-as-you-throw fee, a fee structure, and shall include local compostable materials processing and reuse. The program may be phased in over a period of 3 years, starting with single family and 2 to 4 family residences, and within 3 years, including apartment complexes, homeowners associations, businesses, and institutions. So just for clarification's sake, we currently have a very different system. There used to be 3 private haulers. Now there's 1 hauler, USA, that has an effective monopoly, and we're wanting to end that system by having the town take over responsibility and to offer these services, including the pickup of compostables, and also including a means of incentivizing people to throw away less, because the less they throw away, the less that goes in that trash bin, the less they'll pay. So here's the next slide, applicable laws and regulations. The town bylaw, section 3.33 already mentioned, but under refuse collection and recyclable materials. But here we go, the BOH, Board of Health. Board of Health is a lot more powerful than many people are aware. They actually do regulate waste management in our municipality and every town and city across the state. And we have met with them, and they are overall in favor of this proposal, but they also do want there to be input from the community. So this is what we're doing. But eventually it will require the Board of Health to then follow through with what they've said they're ready to do if there's positive feedback from the community to go ahead and change the bylaws so that we can have this new structure of waste reduction, waste management rather. As I mentioned, Board of Health has supported the proposal in that way. And there's a long list here that you can just glance down to see how many other organizations have said, yes, this is a great idea. There were 2 studies conducted over the last 18 months. The first was funded by a DEP technical assistance grant, Department of Environmental Protection, which is a state grant that was applied for by the DPW. In other words, the Department of Public Works was certainly behind, yeah, let's go ahead and study this. And the state did award the grant to study what is the best way to manage our waste here in Amherst. And they've examined best practices in 9 cutting edge communities in Massachusetts and around the country. Final recommendation of that study was to transition to a contract with a hauler, as I indicated earlier. A Smith College capstone project came to the same conclusion. So that's 2 different studies saying, yes, we should go ahead and change the way waste is managed here in Amherst and get the town to take over responsibility for that. So there are problems with our current system. As I indicated, we've got USA hauling that enjoys a monopoly. So we have no control as compared to the situation when we had 3 different local haulers. There is not transparent pricing. You can't go to their website and find out what the fee structure is, depending on what your behavior is, or what you want to sign up for. And the costs of management of the costs for residents have gone way up for waste and recycling fees compared to what people pay in towns with town contracts. Also, the USA hauling doesn't provide simple services that local haulers formerly provided in a basic service, such as handling bulky items that you might want to put out on the curb and that sort of thing. ZWA proposal addresses these problems as discussed below. So we continue here. And here's some background. There's a lot that's happened over the years, including when I was chair of the Recycling and Refuse Management Committee, and we came out with a solid waste master plan that took a lot of effort, and it was approved for consideration even before the by the select board before there was a town council. But there's nothing that has been addressed in that solid waste master plan yet in a formal way. So finally, we're hoping that it's going to get the attention that it deserves, because this current proposal really does offer substantially what we were saying the town should do in that solid waste master plan. So, and of course, the most recent historical event was earlier this year, the Board of Health unanimously passing a motion to support the proposal and seek input from the town manager and town council. So why do we need this bylaw amendment? Well, at least 40, I think is closer to 50% of our waste. When you see a truck, garbage truck go down the street, and if you were to open it up, empty it out, and you would discover that close to half of it is organic in origin, and therefore is compostable. So the problems, of course, with either burning or burying, which are the only two options of what we do with our trash, is that both produce greenhouse gas emissions and pollution. So by reducing trash, we're reducing our emissions and pollution, and that would help us move toward achieving our state and local zero waste and climate action goals. Our waste provides a major contribution to global climate change. The way it currently, the way we throw so much away, and compared to other countries, we throw a lot away. Methane is released from landfills, emissions from waste to energy trash combustors, and the transportation of waste to those facilities. Landfills, incinerators are where our waste goes, are also a major source of land, air, and water pollution, which particularly affect environmental justice communities. Why we need this? Masters is in crisis over waste disposal. There's no more landfills. We had one here in Amherst. It's been capped. It's filled up, and that's happening all over the state. The DEP has a goal of zero waste, but it's not keeping up with this goal at all. Not even close. So we're counting on individuals to compost, but that's not. It's not going to happen. I mean, a lot of people just can't or won't, and so instead, we're trying to get their participation, which I think there's a lot of excitement about. I remember when we did a survey of the community, and a lot of people were definitely interested in being able to send their compostable materials to a facility to make compost out of it. And also, we could that our town could be a leader in. We could be a positive example to other communities of what can be done with solid waste. So the bylaw amendment has 5 main elements. The first is very fundamental, changing from an individual subscription service, which is what we currently have. The town is not involved at all, to a hauler contract with the town. So the town would send out an RFP and find out which companies are willing to provide what we are requiring as defined by this bylaw. And it would be a phased-in program, as I indicated, starting in early 2024 with single and 2 to 4 family residences. The town would start with them because it's less complicated, but other customers, the ones that have trash receptacles, dumpsters, the multifamily residences, the apartment complex businesses, they would be included in the contract hauler services and receive pickup of compostable materials within 3 years, hopefully, of that phase in January 2024. Number three, the curbside pickup of compostable materials. And the town of Hamilton, Massachusetts is currently doing this, and I believe there are others as well. This is commonplace out west. I mean, they're way ahead of us, Washington State, Oregon, California, and they've, I think, in large part out of necessity, they're just aware that how important this is, and it's the way of the future. So diverting of compostable materials is one of the elements of this proposal. So you can envision that you would have 3 bins, the 2 that you already have for the waste and the combined recyclables, and then the 3rd bin, presumably green, would be for compostable materials. Number 4, local compost processing. So this Martin's Farm in Greenfield has indicated that they do have capacity to take our local compost. And number 5, the pay-as-you-throw fee structure. This could be either pay per bag. So in other words, the bags would be, people would be able to purchase the bags that are specifically marked, Amherst waste. And this is how people who currently have contracts or who have paid for the privilege of being able to use the transfer station, the stickers, this is how they throw their trash away. They buy the bags and then they're charged. Of course, they've paid up front now. That the bag might be a couple of dollars, so they've already paid to throw away that trash. This is how the fee structure would simply be in this case. What you pay for the bags to throw away your trash. And an alternative would be paying according to the size of receptacle or the frequency of pickup of that receptacle. So in either case, we are incentivizing that people recycle either in the typical way of the paper products and containers, but also compostable materials is a second kind of recycling. And if you recycle a lot of your waste, then you're not throwing very much away. So next slide, transparency expectations from contracted hauler. They would contract with the town, and as I indicated, there's no transparency now with USA Hauling for its 4 different size toters and in pricing for optional services, and very steep price hikes, just 23% this January. The service expense for their service was jacked up by almost a quarter. This lack of transparency prevents the waste reduction that should result from pay-as-you-throw system based on toter size or based on the number of bags you buy. Hauler could also provide examples of how customers can reduce waste by diverting compost and compostable materials and otherwise on its website. So you could go to the, ideally, if we are contracting with a hauler, this information and examples of how to save and how much you can expect to spend with different scenarios, on your waste removal and recycling. So these savings currently, residents pay somewhere between $480 and $700 annually for their waste removal services. And as I indicated, have been raising rates consistently ever since they became the single hauler. Contrast that with South Hadley residents using the basic biweekly services with no added pickup or other services, $125 a year. South Hadley incidentally does charge people for official trash bags, $1 for the 13-gallon bag and $2 for the 30-gallon bag. South Hadley, however, does not include compost pickup in their basic service, which is one thing that we're trying to add to. So more about cost, the next slide. And this is the long and short of it, the long being the red and the short being the blue. And here we are, Amherst to the white bar right in the middle. What I want to call your attention to is these blue columns, which indicate how much other communities are saving just by virtue of having their town government be responsible for their waste and contracting with a hauler. It clearly gives the town a lot of control, and the haulers have to compete to be able to be the hauler selected by the municipality.
Excuse
the
me,
next slide,
John.
shows the average Amherst individual contract, which is in red, and the average surveyed town contract, which is significantly less when the town contract. So
John, could you make this bigger? Because I can't really see the.
I don't know. Can I, Darcy, can I make it bigger?
No.
Good question. I think I
Sorry to
might,
interrupt.
yeah, I think I might not be able to.
Yeah.
If you try the magnifying glass, hopefully that would do it.
Yeah.
Is
It's
that,
in the toolbar. Magnifying glass.
The
It's right in the
average
toolbar.
The average Amherst individual contract is close to 600. It's around a little over 500, according to this graph. And then, but it's just over a little over 200 for the average surveyed town contract in other communities where the town has responsibility.
Yeah, Darcy, on the toolbar, just to the right of the printer icon, you'll see what looks like a little magnifying glass that should be able to zoom in. Try it. Go to 200%. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So let me go on to the next slide. That's
Oh,
entitled.
wait,
just a minute,
Do
just
you
a
want me to go
minute,
back
John.
here?
Yeah, just let Pat and others take a look at this, because I don't think anybody. So, yeah, Amherst 492 average, and the blue are the towns that have contracts.
The column headings.
So the numbers is what you can read the cost.
Yeah, but I can't read what each column says.
Can you scroll down to the bottom so we can see? Yeah, thanks.
So shall I move on?
What Amherst pays, 492, that's what South Hadley, Pittsfield, Long Meadow, and Shutesville. The prices are in the top of the
We're in the high end.
Shall I move on to the next slide?
Yes,
Okay. So this one is entitled Washed Hands Towns. In other words,
no, this is the previous slide.
which slide do you want me to be on?
The slide with the average Amherst individual contract and average surveyed town contract.
Oh, okay, you're right. So the one that just has 2 bars.
Right.
Okay, so there you see the averages, more than double. More than double, comparing the average Amherst individual contract to the average surveyed town contract in other communities.
Wow.
Pretty incredible. Okay,
Yes.
on to the next slide.
Okay.
Washed hands towns of the 11 most populous communities. In
Oh,
the
wait 1 second. I'm trying to, oh, there we go. Wait a minute. I need to, let's see.
Go back to 100%.
There
Yeah.
we go. Go ahead, John.
Okay, shall I move on?
Yes, washed hands.
Washed hand towns. Of the 11 most populous communities in Western Massachusetts, the DEP district, only Amherst and Northampton continue to have what's referred to as the washed hands approach. In other words, the town has washed their hands of any responsibility for solid waste, which is a subscription service with municipal operated transfer station as an option. So both Northampton and Amherst do have those transfer stations. Other large to medium-sized communities either contract out with a single hauler or provide the curbside pickup of service themselves. And most of them also operate transfer stations for bulky waste, et cetera. The question is whether the current model employed continues to best serve a community, and if not, how and when a change might be affected. So here's the list then, the towns that contract or directly provide hauling. Notice in red, you've got Amherst and Northampton, but all the rest are doing that contracting. So the next slide, Louisville, Colorado is a good example of exactly what we are requesting in this bylaw, because they have a municipally the contract from the town with their with Republic Services in their town to provide the not only the waste and recycling, but also the curbside compostable materials pickup. And because it's a comparable community, same population and size as Amherst, we feel this is a valid comparison. The rates are based on the customer's trash cart size and include a bi-weekly recycle and composting cart of any size up to a 95-gallon toter. So you can see the rates right here, the smallest being $15.68 for a 35-gallon toter. Contrast that with $55 a month that USA Recycling and Waste Management is providing for the same size toter. 55 and more than 3 times
3 times.
what they're spending in Lewis, Colorado. Next slide. Benefits lower cost of compostable materials. So tipping fees for compostables are less.
Oh, wait 1 second. For some reason, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm now talking about tipping fees of compostable materials. This saves money when you, the tipping fee is larger for waste than it is for compostable materials. My understanding of that is because when organics are sent to a composting facility, that facility then can turn around and create a product that is marketable, the compost, and which is not the case with waste. So we spend more, and that's whether it's residential or commercial or the town or institutions spend more when we the tipping fees are larger for waste. So the hauler contract under the slide, more services, provides the opportunity to provide more services in residents and businesses basic service, including curbside yard waste pickup, possibly along with those compostable materials, curbside bulky waste pickup, and more frequent hazardous waste collection. These are things we are hoping will be features of the new contract. And the climate and environmental benefits I've referred to, we need to reduce the amount of waste that we dispose of, whether it's sent to an incinerator or a landfill, because there are significant environmental costs to either one, and to our public health as well. So climate, public health, pollution, all of it is bad news when we throw away waste. And it's especially bad news for what's referred to as environmental justice communities. And in fact, there's a lot of injustice in the way things currently are, because communities of color and poor communities are routinely zoned industrial. So of course, they don't get to say not in my backyard. There's no voice there. Hazardous and toxic industries are disproportionately located in these neighborhoods. And areas zoned industrial have greater environmental burdens and health risks than areas only zoned for residential use. And this is well documented, just how awful these impacts are in what's referred to as environmental justice communities. Next slide about methane. When we throw compostable materials away in landfills, they're buried, of course, and then they are digested anaerobically by anaerobic bacteria. And a byproduct of that decomposition is methane, which is an extremely powerful greenhouse gas, much worse than carbon dioxide. Basically, landfills are already failing, and it'll only get worse. Landfills are never guaranteed for more than 30 years. Think about that. So really, they are guaranteed to fail, and they are failing. And so future generations will be dealing with catastrophic consequences. That's not just a maybe, that's a definite. It's really terrifying what we've set in motion. So we really have, as is the case with the other problems, we can't magically wrap it all up and send it out into outer space, but at least we can take responsible action in terms of mitigating future, just the sheer quantity of what we are burning and burying in this case. because landfill air pollutants have serious health impacts. And this is not something that would be perhaps immediately obvious to people. It's easy to imagine burning trash and what that can do to the air pollution, but it also happens from landfills. The birth defects, increased rates of cancer, reduced immune system function, acute respiratory infections, all from living next to a landfill. And how about the waste to energy incinerators? Sounds like a great idea, but it's anything but. Serious air pollution. They discharge higher rates of lead, mercury, nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide more than coal-fired power plants do. And also they emit particulates, which it's impossible to filter out of in those smokestacks because they're so small, along with PCBs, dioxins, and furans. These are the worst of the worst that we're getting in our air, causing cancer, heart attack, strokes, asthma, and pulmonary disease. Again, a major factor in public health outcomes, which are really catastrophic in communities that are already suffering from higher rates of these diseases. So requiring diversion of compostable materials is the wave of the future. More and more countries are doing it. In this country, more and more states and municipalities are saying, of course, we need to do this, for a number of reasons, all the reasons we've been talking about. California has a new law requiring that universal composting by 2025, or by 2025, they want to have 75% as an interim goal, but eventually universal composting. Comparable to taking 1 million cars off the road each year. And other states, including Massachusetts, have also passed organic waste bans. Here in Massachusetts, if an establishment creates over half ton a week, they need to recycle their compostable materials, or actually 1 ton a week. And by November, it'll be reduced to 1/2 ton a week. So those establishments will also have to compost their organics. Hamilton was the first town in Massachusetts to ban organics in the waste stream last year. So thank you for your presence here in this and giving this issue your attention. We appreciate your support. Here's how you can email your comments to the town council at amherstma.gov. Or give them to at the meeting itself, which is August 15th at 7 p.m., Monday the 15th. And comments should also be entered on the official form, which you can find on the town council webpage.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll leave that there for a second in case people are writing it down. And then we're going to take questions. So does anyone need that up any longer? We can also put it in the chat.
You can also get it on the website. On
Right.
the town council, or just Amherst MA,
Right.
and then look for council.
Okay. So we're interested in hearing if people have questions. I'm going to try to field any of them that have to do with the actual proposal. Any questions?
So John, given some of the numbers that you put out, I wouldn't know in advance what my waste costs will be this year. If I'm doing this pay as I go, maybe I'll have 2 bags of waste each week. Maybe it's a little more, maybe it's a little less, but I don't really know going into the season what I'll be paying for trash.
Okay, so is that a question or?
Well, it's more, I'm really struggling. And again, I'm a Hadley person. You joined us for a meeting a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, to talk about the pollinators. And I'm just trying to see how this would work, not just for Amherst, but also for Hadley. And I guess if I was on the town council, that would be my first question. I don't know what my cost for trash removal will be.
Well, I think that the best way to estimate is to look at the graphs that we showed in this presentation, and you can see that, of course, it's impossible to predict for you or anyone else exactly how many bags, if that's the system, if your expenses are paying per bag, it's impossible to predict. You just don't know. You might discover that you don't throw very much away at all. You're incentivized to not throw anything away. You might even discover that you're spending less on stuff that needs to be thrown away, which is certainly, you're probably familiar with the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. Some people put another R, there are many R's actually, but one of them is the refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. There's some things that people shouldn't buy any of. So not, instead of talking about reducing, just say no. Anyway, that's one thing that this kind of thing incentivizes, is the consumption, the throwaway culture that is so all too prevalent in our society. I see a hand, Darcy.
Yeah, I would just say that, Jack, this whole system is, there's a fair amount of data that indicates that whatever you're throwing away now, you probably know generally how much you're throwing away now. If you reduce that by about 40%,
At least, yeah.
That's what you're going to be throwing away under the new system. And people who are, for example, if they get USA services now and they have a 95-gallon trash container, they won't need that anymore.
Right.
They can get the 65-gallon. And so it's, you can kind of predict that you're going to have about 40% less trash. And that trash is going to be going into your compost bin. Janet.
Yeah, what are the costs of these bags? And more importantly, what is the composition of these bags? Are we going to be using a lot more plastic or something? That has me somewhat concerned.
Yeah. Could I answer that, John?
Go ahead, yeah.
The plastic bags, we already use plastic bags to put our trash out. So these are just plastic bags that are official Amherst plastic bags. So it's no different from what we're doing now, because we don't put our trash directly into a barrel or a toter. So we just are using the bags as a means of pay as you throw to incentivize people to use less. So right now, Amherst sells 10 bags for $30. South Hadley sells bags 13, they sell 13-gallon bags, which I think Amherst should do, because there's tons of people that don't produce much trash, and they could buy a 13-gallon bag for $1 like they do in South Hadley. And they sell their 33-gallon bags for $2.
And just to clarify, this is in Amherst, we have a transfer station. So people who have that subscription, or who are paying for the sticker fee for the privilege of dumping their trash there, those are the people who are currently buying bags, which is just identical to what we're proposing for the entire town.
Right. Pat? I think Pat had her hand up first.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who goes to the transfer station, and I have compost bins for food waste, not plant waste and things like that in my backyard. And what I do is pay for, I think they're blue bags or maybe they're yellow bags for compostable material like meat and citrus and things I don't put. So right now, all I'm paying is the transfer station fees and buying bags, which is a heck of a lot cheaper. And I don't have to contract. And so my first reaction when I was thinking about this, and I do support it, so please hear that. But I'm trying to figure out, why should if I'm doing all this myself, am I going to be charged by the town because they now have a contract? Or do we still individually connect with the contractor? In other words, or with the town? Because I might see my fees go up
Well,
And I think that's,
Yeah, I would just answer that, we are assuming that transfer station users will pay no more than what they're paying now, including the sticker fee, which is now $125 a year, plus whatever you pay for bags, plus whatever you pay for transportation to get there, which we think is probably about $200 a year, maybe. And so, like Louisville, Colorado, the example that we gave was under $200 a year. So what we would love, which will be worked out when the staff figures out what the Board of Health regulation should be, is that for the transfer station users, for the whole town to have universal membership in the transfer station, mostly because all those hard to recycle materials, we want to encourage people to be able to go and take their mattress and take their electronics and take their this and that, which now they're, they don't take because they have to pay a $125 sticker to do that. So we want to have that service open for everyone. And if we added a little fee to everyone to allow them to be a member of the transfer station, we could not only allow people who really don't like national haulers to continue to use the transfer station, not pay more than what they're paying now, and allow the entire town to be able to have a hard to recycle center where they can take stuff. So, I mean, that's the ideal world. That's what we're hoping for. And, we're putting that forward as a possibility. That wasn't my idea, or actually wasn't even one of the advocates' ideas. I won't even tell you whose idea it was, but I personally think it's a great idea. So, did I answer your question, Pat?
yes, and gave me ways of answering other people.
Okay.
I guess the other concern I have heard is what's the impact on the transfer station, because we're generating revenue by buying their bags, et cetera, and how will that get balanced?
Right. Yeah, I think that South Hadley apparently makes $400,000 profit on their bags each year. So we are hoping that we will be able to incorporate that into our revenue stream, in addition to the fees that everyone in the whole town pays. All these details are going to have to be worked out. They aren't in the initial proposal. The initial proposal just has these 5 major elements to try to get the town council to just give the initial push and say, yes, we want to go ahead with this. Board of Health, please figure out the details. Yeah. So Alice?
I think
I'm
Lee
sorry.
Lee was ahead, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Lee Bridegam?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, Lee?
Yes,
Lee?
I'll be quick. I don't know why my face isn't there, but I want to tell you, for 2 years, I've gone to the transportation station. I haven't even used my full 10 bags. So like Pat, I'm not paying very much. I like to get wood chips, but I so support this for our children and the future and pollution in the air that I would be happy to pay the reduced rate, which will be hopefully the result of the town working together on this. Just today, I wish I could get my face up there. I don't know why. I got from the USA, please come back to us. You have a promo code. Your first return month is free. I wish you could see it. It's red, white, and blue. But they gave me this horrible big thing. I hated it. I couldn't get a small one. I love going to the transfer station, but of course, I drive my little, I'm all for this. And I'm happy to pay an extra $100 to do it. Thank you. And thank you, John Root, for all your pollinated and everything else.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, Lee. Alice?
Well, I unfortunately will not be affected by this. I will say I'm 100% in favor of this proposal. I live at Applewood, and it would be awfully nice if we would switch to become residents of Amherst again instead of with USA recycling and stuff. But going back to Jack's question about how much he would pay, I think when you consider the averages that were given about the different towns and the current cost and what is comparable under this system, you don't have to know exactly what you will pay. You know everybody will be paying a lot less. And so I wouldn't care whether it was, how accurate the number was, but I think that it's clear that everybody would be paying less. I mean, there are these exceptions of these people who do a lot of things themselves with composting or whatever. I haven't followed all of that, but I think that it's not necessary to get down to the dollar as to how much you would pay yourself. But I think it's a great proposal, and I'm sorry we won't benefit at Applewood.
Thank you, Alice. And the Louisville, Colorado folks, I think what they ascertained was that something under 5% of the population ended up paying more than they had paid before, and presumably those are either families or businesses that for some reason generate a huge amount of trash.
Well, then they deserve to pay more.
Well, yeah.
I mean, depending on what it is.
But generally everybody either paid the same or less than what they had paid before. So that was good. Do we have any other questions?
A two-parter. And Darcy, this is a pretty select group of participants here. Amherst is also made up of thousands of students and everybody else generating an awful lot of trash. So there's that kind of concern. But I'm curious how the Martin's part of it, with all the compostables that are going to be hauled to Martin's farm, how will that be paid for?
How will it be paid for? That will be in the whatever hauler, various haulers are going to bid on an RFP, and whichever hauler is chosen will have put in the contract the cost of tipping at Martin's. And so it's all going to be part of the formula that's going to determine how much the basic fee for Amherst residents is going to be. So whatever is in that contract for trash, recycling, and compost is then going to be divided by however many households at the time. It's somewhere around 5,000 households if it includes just the 1 to 4 family residents. And so, those fees, the revenue is going to be the fees from the residents that are participating, and eventually the businesses and the apartment complexes and whatnot. And whatever we get from the bags, and that's mainly going to be the revenue. So does that answer your question, Jack?
It does. I just think the accounting behind this could get awfully complicated. It sounds like maybe you've already addressed that.
Well, a lot of it is what's going to go into the contract price, because they and what is going to be included in the contract. Like if the town of Amherst decides that they want the hauler to take care of maintenance, to take care of all complaints, which they probably will, then all of that is going to be factored into the contract. But you have to realize that we're hoping that like Republic, Casella and USA and maybe more will be bidding, and they know they're bidding against each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, across the board, these towns that have contracts pay half, literally half of what the subscription payers pay. So, you know, like the bottom line is it doesn't make sense to let Amherst or to let the hauler continue just
Ripping us off.
yeah,
Right.
yes, ripping us off. Yes. Janet?
Yeah, Alice mentioned that we're at Applewood. And Applewood is considered, I guess, the business because they contract their own hauler. Eventually, as part of this plan, Applewood would have to feed into it.
Right.
I think
Right.
that there would are you considered a homeowners association?
No. And
No?
also, we're part of the Loomis communities, which includes two other bodies. So I don't know how that would
But we're
work.
in
either.
Amherst, Alice. And
I know we're in Amherst, but
we're governed
Yeah.
by Amherst rules.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that would have to be worked out in the Board of Health regulations as far as whether there are going to be exemptions for places like Applewood, if the exemption might be based on Applewood showing that they had a composting program of some sort.
very little.
We tried, it didn't work.
I don't want us to be exempt from the Amherst regulations. I want us to be able to have this instead of what we're doing now.
Yeah, so, yes, speak
But we
up.
don't know what the management will do.
Yeah, well,
Right, yeah.
we're assuming that the baseline is that everyone in Amherst will be subject to this rule unless there's some kind of exemption for homeowners associations or whatever. I know other municipalities have exemptions for homeowners associations who already have contracts with groups, but we could conceivably say you can be exempt if you can show us that you have a composting component of your program or something like that.
We have a very small composting component. And I can understand that we might have to finish up the contract, the term, and then start this, you know, that we wouldn't be able to start right away, but because of the contract that we already have with USA. But
Well, we wouldn't be affected right away anyway under the bylaws until 2024, right?
Right,
well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, it's another issue, but
yeah, it's moving slowly. Pat?
Yeah, talking about Applewood, what about Amherst Woods? Would they be exempt? I mean, it's not town, what is it? I can't think of the right name, but basically it's like
Neighborhood
Apple.
Association.
Yeah, thank you. I'm old, honey. So won't they be exempt? And that's one of the richest areas in Amherst. So why would they be exempt? They're individual homes.
Yeah,
Yet
I don't,
they have a homeowners association. Doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
me.
I don't know.
These are all the places I know I'm gonna get socked when I'm, I need to be able to answer these.
This is Mary, Darcy.
Yes,
This is Mary. I live over here. I don't think this homeowners association doesn't contract for trash pickup at all. Everybody's an individual home here, and the homeowners association doesn't have anything to do with this aspect.
oh,
You
good.
know, I think we would just be individual homes.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's what I was assuming about Amherst Woods. And I
Yeah.
am also assuming that Amherst Woods homeowners will probably be very supportive of this, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Just
I
because
think so.
practically everyone who uses USA realizes, you know, how much more they're charging than they need to be.
right.
So any other questions? I think then that we did say we were going to have some, was there another question?
Yeah, a quick one. You said that this is a very small forum, very small group of people. And one of the things that I think, John, in one of your slides, you talked about reaching out to the community. So what's planned? I know August 15th is when it's going to get presented to council, and I'm sure it's going to get moved to TSO and then GOL and all that schmuggy. So that's time consuming. So what are the plans to really reach out to the community to really educate everyone in the community about this?
I submitted.
How can I help?
I
How can-
submitted a letter. I submitted a letter to the editor of the bulletin, and that was printed last Friday. Darcy, what is planned?
Yeah, we are, I mean, the first level of outreach has been to organizations like the League of Women Voters and Energy and Climate Action Committee and Mothers Up Front, Climate Action Now, all that whole list of endorsers. As far as getting the word out to the rest of town, we need to be doing that during the course of this whole thing. Summer is not the best time, I've noticed. But yes, and if you have ideas about that, Pat, we're all ears. You know, basically what we need to do is, you know, I mean, I have visions of just like putting a flyer on every USA toter. But, or, you know, and we've been at the farmer's market many weeks talking it up. So
one of the things that we are doing around rental registration, there was just a whole community forum yesterday that was on Zoom, that was advertised. There was a survey, information and survey on the town website that people could click in to anonymously, etc. And there were over 80 people attending it, which really amazed me and was very wonderful. So it seems to me like, you know, that happens, because I don't go to the farmer's market. I belong to a CSA. So how do we get out? And for me, how do we reach non-English speaking residents in the Boulders and other places? And yes, I know that this would phase in apartment complexes, etc., but that's the goal. So they need to have input. And what's the impact on renters across the board of having the landlord have another fee? Who pays it? Will it be the tenant? Will it be the landlord? And one of the things that happened last night was, I think that because there are people who despise students, I mean, that's extreme, and people who despise landlords. And through the dialogue that started to happen last night, there was, I think, and certainly for myself, letting go of some assumptions and hearing things that would affect the bylaw, a potential bylaw. So it feels like this needs to get done before the bylaw, because people need to have input into it, serious input to it.
I agree. What was the
Sorry.
meeting last night?
It was about the residential, it was a community resources, community forum on rental registration bylaw.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I totally agree as far as like trying to figure out the outreach. I think what I'm hoping that once we get it to TSO, we can figure out more who are the additional stakeholders and do it, you know, together with Zero Waste Amherst and other groups assisting. And it might not be able to really fully happen until at least September, because when everybody's back.
And TSO stands for?
Town Services and Outreach Committee, which is where we're assuming this is going to get referred on the 15th. Shalini Balmilne had said that she was going to come tonight, so I'm sorry that she wasn't able to attend. She's one of the counselor sponsors. We have 2 counselor sponsors. Pat is also a supporter. Jennifer Taub and Shalini Balmilne are the 2 counselor sponsors. So we're very excited about it, and to the extent that anybody can write an email to the town council, that would be great.
None of the precinct 5 counselors have signed on? I'm not precinct 5, district
No,
5.
no, both of them. Shalini is a sponsor, and Anna Devlin Gauthier is very supportive. So yeah, we think that we probably already have a majority.
Selene has signed on?
Yeah, she's sponsoring the
Right.
bylaw amendment or bylaw. Yeah, it's a bylaw amendment. Any other questions? All right, so we had said that we're going to do town updates. I don't think we need to do an Amherst update because this was a pretty long update for Amherst, but if Hadley or Northampton have an update, we would love to hear it.
Sure, I can present for Hadley. We are making slow but steady progress on our green communities initiative. We are one of the last towns in Hampshire County who hasn't been declared green, and we are working with the numbers through the town hall and all of that. So hopefully before the September 30th deadline, we'll be able to actually submit and be accepted. We'll see. We also decided a couple of months ago to put in a statement basically saying that there's a climate emergency, basically to do a letter saying there's a climate emergency declaration. And we have to rewrite that. There was a lot of pushback in town of people saying, no, I don't think so. And, I've just spent a week helping my brother on the family farm here, and it was a pretty hot week being outside. This was a real struggle, and it's just too bad that there's a number of people in Hadley that don't think that we need any kind of climate emergency declaration, don't think we need to be directed by the government to follow it. We were doing this as an aspirational goal, but we're having to rewrite it and get that up to the people. Those are 2 things going on in Hadley.
Yeah, how are you going to rewrite it?
We're going to simplify. We're taking out some of the controversial parts of it. We're listening to what people wrote on Facebook and some other forums, and we will look at rewriting.
Yeah, I would just, you've probably heard about this, Jack, but there's a new designation for green communities. Did you hear about that? That there's
yeah, I mean, we're dealing with the old application, the old,
Right.
yeah, we're not, yeah.
So you can't just jump the first
Right.
step and go right into
Yeah.
being, now you can apply to be a climate community or something like that, gives you even more money or something.
Yeah, that's good to know for the future. I'm just hoping that we are able to get through the hurdles for this year and actually get that into our town and take advantage of it.
Yeah, great. Any other town wants to share?
Can I go back and comment? Right now, that example that you gave, Jack, was one, but I'm thinking about Congress, how there can be such resistance to anything to deal with climate change when we're having such terrible heat waves, such terrible flooding. I would think it would just make people, jump on the bandwagon, but they have other things in their heads. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Excuse me for interrupting, but
Putting them in the sand.
Yeah.
And Alice, I completely agree. It's terribly unfortunate. I mean, these last few days have been stunningly warm. Being outside, doing any kind of farming, any kind of outside work.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
And they
But
don't,
they're, you know, but they're
they don't
saying,
connect things,
they're saying there have always been heat waves even before we had climate change.
not like this.
Not like this.
No.
We need to focus on stopping women from doing anything but being breeders and things like that. That's, and carrying
the-
guns, very
The
important.
important things.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, and the diminution of the polar ice cap, which they can't see, but it's happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
So if we don't have any other town reports, I thought maybe Susan Waite would be here to give a state report. We have I don't know, I don't think Charlie Baker has signed the climate bill yet. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to talk about whether there's some good stuff in the climate bill. I mean, we know there's good things in it, but we don't know what Charlie Baker has signed. So
Hopefully he doesn't veto any part of it.
hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Other than that, let's see. We have future agenda items. If anybody has ideas about future agenda items or field trips that you think that we should go on, we're all ears. We have been waiting and waiting because we want to go on a field trip to the MRF, the municipal recycling facility in Springfield, but it's still saying it's closed for COVID.
I've gone there several times in the past, and you walk together with just crowded with people to look through a window or something, and you can't possibly stay any distance apart from other people.
So, well, that's good to know. I do think that we probably would have enough interest in another trip to Martin's.
I
Because
would love to go up to Martin's.
that trip was a lot of fun. And we probably had about 20 people that went the last time. I think that we could probably get another 20. And I think a lot of us would want to go again now that we know that we're potentially going to use it for our Amherst facility. Are people here interested in that at all?
I would be, I think, but it depends.
Yeah.
I've had a chance to see it before, and John, I just want to give you a shout out. Your letter was wonderfully written. Thank you for what you put in the paper.
I have pictures that I took at the MRF, which might be helpful if anybody wanted to just get a flavor of what it's like.
Yeah, if you want to share them, that would be great. And the only other thing that I had is that we are trying to have a presence at the farmers market. So if anybody wants to volunteer to be there on a Saturday, that would be great. Or if you have any access to interns or volunteers that might want to do that. If you
Who
could.
haven't already been grabbed by some other organization.
I know. I know. Well, it's interesting. When I'm tabling there are just tons of students that come by who are interested. And so I do always note next to their names, that they're a student and that they are a potential possibility. So I should probably ask them. But I think that's all we have.
Could I just put in a word for the League of Women Voters book sale is happening this weekend and next weekend. And I don't have it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't have the times in front of me, but you can look it up if you want.
And it's at the Fort River School.
Fort River School.
So
Tons,
yeah,
lots and lots, thousands of books.
yes, good books, cheap.
Cheap. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. And thank you, John, for your
Thank
presentation.
Thank you, John.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks, John.
Really,
Thanks, Darcy.
It's recorded, so if you want to share it, I will send it out.
great, thank you.
Good luck at your August 15th meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I can't be there either.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. See you next time.